I'm back and I have one of your paranormal stories that I'm so nervous to read. This says, my house was invaded by multiple demons at once, tormenting me and my family. I can't. Hey Courtney, I've been watching your videos since about 2017 and I've wanted to tell you some of my stories forever. ADHD brain. And figured I would start with one of my scariest. It's definitely a bit longer of a read, but I've watched enough of your videos to know that you don't care about that. And I, personally, love when you read long ones. Full disclosure, this was about a decade ago and my brain is soup, so hopefully it's not too disjointed. About 10 years ago, when I was a senior in high school, I was struggling pretty heavily with anxiety and depression. As we know, mental illness can definitely leave people more vulnerable to supernatural attacks or attachments. So I think that's why the situation was worse for me than the rest of my family. Don't exactly remember how this started, but I remember that it was midwinter when I started experiencing sleep paralysis. Now, I've had paranormal experiences my whole life, and many members of my extended family have as well. So this was not new, but also something about it was different. For about 3 weeks, I had the same sleep paralysis experience, but with slight variations. The first night, I woke up and my whole room seemed to be glowing with this brownish light, and in the corner opposite of my bed near my closet was a boy about my age, maybe a bit younger, early teens. He was also tinted in this light, which almost made him in the room look like a sepia filter. He was wearing old-fashioned clothes, a whitish blouse and some sort of brown pants to his calf. I remember him so distinctly. He just stared at me, and even though the situation was freaky and I panicked a little at the paralysis piece, he didn't really set off any super scary or malicious alarm bells. He almost calmed me. This happened for about 3 weeks, not every night but many, and each time he got a little closer to me. This definitely started to freak me out more, despite his kind demeanor. The last night that he appeared, I woke up with the same sensation, only he was nowhere to be found. The same brown light made the room glow and I had the sensation of being watched, but I couldn't see him. I suddenly felt the bed next to me compress as if somebody was laying there with me, and I felt his fucking arm wrap around me. This sent me into full, oh hell no mode, but it ended just as quickly as it began and I never saw him again or told anyone about this. A few days later, I got a text from my aunt, who I have a very close cosmic connection with and who is as spiritually inclined as I am, that she had received an email from her longtime friend who had also happened to be a medium. She had a connection with my grandmother who had passed when I was 13 because of her connection with my aunt. And my grandmother had reached out to her telling her that I was struggling mentally and that it was severe and causing me to be spiritually vulnerable. That she was trying to protect me, but there were demons trying to attack. That's so scary. This freaked me the hell out and started a conversation between my aunt and I about these paranormal happenings, which she spoke to my dad about, who has experienced a bunch of supernatural shit in his life between being a traveling ER nurse amongst other things, but is still somehow a skeptic. About a week later, my dad texted me asking why I wasn't at school. I said, I am at school. It's fully noon on a Tuesday. He said he knew I was home because he was also home and heard my voice singing and talking in my room. I told him again that I was at school and if he was so sure to go up and check. He did. No one was there. A few days later, he texted me while I was at theater rehearsal asking if I knew where my brother and his girlfriend were. I had a class with my brother's girlfriend who had told me that after school they were going to a movie. He said he heard both of their voices talking and laughing in my brother's room and he was too freaked out to check after last time. This really kickstarted my dad's belief in the situation and more talks about how to tackle it. The final straw was Valentine's Day. I remember this day so distinctly. It was a snowy day and I had driven my mom to work so I could have her car for the day. After school, 2 friends and I went and got a heart-shaped pizza and brought it to my house to eat and hang out. We were sitting at the table just casually chatting and suddenly we all heard this deep sound from upstairs. The only way to describe it is it almost sounded like if an old man was growling and moaning at the same time. The sound was followed by every door upstairs slamming one by one. We were all frozen for a moment before sprinting out of the house to the car and speeding away. I brought my friends home and reached out to one of my best friends at the time who was Wiccan and had experience with unwanted visitors. I picked her up and she took me to the house of an elderly mother of one of the women she did community theater with, who was known to be somewhat of a spiritual oracle? Is that how you say that? This woman told me that my aura was deeply affected, that my energy was like black sludge and I needed to protect myself. My friend, let's call her Amber, gifted me 2 crystals that had been passed down to her that had been known to have powerful protective qualities, a smoky quartz and a black obsidian. I still have these to this day and believe they definitely have energy attached to them. She also gave me a pagan sleep protection spell, which I used in the meantime. Soon after, there was a full-on exorcism planned. Myself and my parents were there, plus my aunt, the medium, my step-uncle who's a priest, and Amber the Wiccan. We figured we'd throw all the shit at the wall and hope something stuck. Full disclosure, I know the following story sounds insane, not that it hasn't up until now, but every bit of this is completely true. I'm scared. The medium did a reading and cleansing on the entire house before we started. She said there were 3 demons attached to the house, 1 older, powerful, and very sticky demon, and 2 younger ones, likely the mimic/sleep paralysis demons. We went through the house room by room, corner by corner. We each had a role and a task. Each room was smoke cleansed, we prayed, and my dad, identified as the head of the household, was told to case out any unwanted or malicious entities directly and firmly. We did the whole house and thought we were finished. We were talking in the kitchen downstairs when the medium said, "We're not done. That one's sticky." She walked around the house trying to figure out the highest source of energy she was feeling. We finally reached my room. She said the energy was focused in the ceiling fan. We had placed a Bible open on a shelving unit in my room, and I was told to stand below the ceiling fan and pray the Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be prayers. While I began this, the room was again being smoke cleansed, and Amber brought over the protective crystals. All was going pretty well until I got partway through the Hail Mary. Suddenly, I couldn't remember the prayer. I'm from a Catholic family, went to Catholic school from kindergarten through 8th grade, was an altar server, and even at one point wanted to be a nun. This prayer was ingrained in my memory. There was no way I would just forget it. It felt like I was being physically suppressed, like the demon knew what I was doing and was trying to stop me. My step-uncle, the priest, started saying the prayer for me, along with my family members. I then started to feel like I was in the eye of a hurricane. It felt like the energy was swirling around me like a tornado, and even though there was no actual wind, the pages of the Bible in front of me started flipping. Full horror movie style. I thought I was going insane. It felt like the house was shaking. I'm not sure if it actually was or if it was just the energetic pressure point I was clearly in the center of. And my dad started yelling at this thing to get the fuck out of this house. Suddenly, it all stopped. The medium told us that it was gone, and we just needed to physically protect ourselves for a while. Nothing like that ever happened in our house again. This is definitely one of my craziest stories, but not nearly my only one. I have stories of loved ones peacefully visiting in cool ways, scary ways, etc., haunted theaters I've performed in, and even a spiritual attack involving birds and ghost sickness. I'm happy to come back and tell any of those shorter ones if you would like. Peace and love. I hope you enjoyed. I feel like we ended that really abruptly. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I know it never happened again, but I'm like, are you okay? That's awful. But I would love to hear your other stories, of course. Like you feeling like you're in a tornado or a hurricane or whatever. I just can't even, oh my god, I can't even imagine. I don't know, and I'm done. But that's all I'm gonna read for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other stories you wanna share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.